Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Happy day, Tirawami greetings to Rhoda, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. For all your island news from a beautiful place with Pacific views. It's always so much fun on Good morning, Marianas.
Good morning, Marianas. Good morning, Ann. Good to see you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Good Morning, Marianas, your only all-digital morning show of the Marianas. We talk about news. We talk about sports. We talk about weather. We talk about them separate. We talk about them together. That's right, baby. Hey, good morning, everybody. We have a lot to get to today. Oh, my gosh. All of them. But first, I'm going to get some things out of the way because I want to make sure I can get you guys the weather and the latest news that's happening all around the world. Right now, it's 81 degrees up at the airport. The humidity's at 85. Ugh, God, it feels a little thick in the air tonight. But it's going to be all right. Partly sunny skies today. That's way better than yesterday. So you're saying there's a chance. High near 87 with a wind out of the east, 8 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, there's a chance we might be able to play baseball because it's partly sunny skies today, which is so much better than yesterday. Hey, apologies to our YouTube audience about yesterday. For some reason, we were unable to get that YouTube going yesterday. We got it figured out, I think. I was messing around with a couple tests yesterday after the show, and I think what I just need to do, I need to start that setting first before I get to the Facebook. It's never been an issue before, but Brad, it happens to all guys. Don't feel bad about it. All right. Oh, that's a different conversation. But seriously, about this one here, though, I think that's what it was, and that's how we got it solved. So today, we got different nerd stuff going on to help make it work to get to a little bit better today. So, hey, we got to talk about Star Marianas. That's a big thing that we're going to talk about today. Man, we didn't even get to talk about what's going on in presidential politics and all that kind of stuff. I know, nobody likes that stuff. But there's a lot happening. The other one is, though, I want to make sure that we get you guys the latest about the news that's happening all over the world. So let's do that first. We're just about there. So let's just make sure that we can get that for you. So here's the latest.
I'm Ed Donahue. Kamala Harris used her first rally as a 2024 presidential candidate to frame the fight against Donald Trump. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin.
In a Midwest battleground, Harris says the election comes down to a central choice.
Do we want to live in a country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? Or a country of chaos, fear, and hate?
She spoke in a high school gym to a roaring crowd. In sharp contrast to President Biden's visit 2 weeks ago after his disastrous debate, while Harris lit into Trump.
I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
She says the race is about more than just fighting against Trump. It's about for whom the nation should fight. And with 105 days left,
We have an election to win.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
President Biden will speak in primetime tomorrow night about his decision to get out of the race. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the president should get out of the White House, too.
One thing is clear. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to run the country.
The Transportation Department has started an investigation into Delta. The airline is still struggling to recover from a tech outage last week. Jim Hetzel with aviation analytics company Cirium says there's been some improvement.
On Friday, they were at like 35% cancellations, or just around 35% cancellations, and that persisted through the weekend. As of today, they've improved that down to just under 10% cancellation.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez will resign August 20th following his conviction for taking bribes. Stocks finished lower. The Dow down 57 points. This is AP News. What's the connection between Brat Summer, coconut trees, Venn diagrams, and Kamala Harris?
All three of these are memes associated with Harris. The coconut tree reference comes from a speech where the vice president emphatically recalled a turn of phrase frequently used by her mother.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Brat Summer is in reference to recording artist Charlie XCX's latest album, Brat. XCX posted on social media that Kamala is Brat. The post has accumulated over 35 million impressions on X, and Harris's campaign quickly set its X banner photo to the striking Shrek green color of Charlie's Brat album cover. And Venn diagrams are in reference to Harris saying,
This is where you're going to hear the geek in me. I love Venn diagrams.
now you're caught up. Hyatt Panjwani, Washington.
I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
Good morning, Marianas. It is Wednesday morning. It's hump day. It is hump day, and it is 7:40. People who know the name of this song definitely know what we're going to be talking about here in just a couple of minutes. Well, maybe not just a couple of minutes, but for quite a few minutes. Star Marianas is throwing down the gauntlet to the CNMI. They basically said, hey, you guys got to do something or we're out of here. Is that what our future is? First we're losing Hyatt, now we're losing Flyit. Come on. I'll tell you, it's an interesting world out here because the folks in Saipan, Tinian, and Rota certainly don't want to be isolated. And without Star Marianas, I don't know how we could do it. Really, I don't. Yeah, we got boats. I get it. How many people are doing that? It was so successful, the Dynasty stopped doing their boats too, right? I mean, that could have been a revenue stream for them. It ended up not being a revenue stream. It wasn't a big deal. So they got rid of those high-speed catamarans. Flying back and forth is the way to go when it comes down to travel back and forth to Tinian, especially to Rota. I mean, even if you did have a boat to Rota, like even the Vomit Comet in the days of the Dynasty, that was still like an hour-long trip, right? 55 minutes is what they built it as. So is that what we're looking for? Is that what we're going for? And that was those were great boats, right? And remember, it's like some of the leaders over there in Tinian drive me, they make me laugh a little bit when they still talk about this ferry that's coming. Now, I love the idea of getting this ferry. Now, at least the COTA guys are actively pursuing it. But when they place all these hopes and dreams on these investors, in quotes, who are bringing over some kind of a ferry system that's going to travel between the islands, it's just laughable. It's actually sad because they get abused. The people in Tinian get abused by these wannabe Chinese investors that come in and tell them over and over and over again all these things are going to end up happening and never happen, right? I mean, like this whole, remember the Titanic casino thing now is about the size of a few containers stuck together on top of each other and hollowed out. It's a little better than that. Okay, you're not being fair, Brad. Okay, that's fine. Let's say your Titanic hotel casino replica is now like It's about the same thing as the fruit stand building in Azlito. Yep, it's it. I mean, it's sure there's some fancy stuff over there. I saw some real fancy mold tree growing out of the ventilation, black mold, and then like the fungus that turned into like a plant coming out of the vents. It was certainly nice. I'm sure they got it figured out since the opening day. But I'm like, come on, man. That's like that project, by the way, that was the one that was going all the way out to the south side when you go out past the observation, the overlook. And that's where it was originally going to be. When you go out past the Dynasty, you take a right, you take that back road, takes you out to Suicide over there in Tinian. Yeah, that's where that was going to be. And that goes back like, want to say like 17 years ago, maybe more. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was like 19 years ago, almost 20 years ago. Like it was a project that started like in 2025. And that's just wild, you know? And geez, just absolutely crazy. So the idea that Star Marianas might not be there, and this is not like necessarily, this is something that we could fix. Right, this is something that we can fix. Now you got to listen. Now, so we received this stuff from Star Marianas, and it was it's 161 pages. I mean, my gosh, right? I mean, we did not go through all 161 pages of all the fees and all the other stuff. You can tell you though, it's pretty massive. Now, can we post it all on there? Yeah, we can. But I'll tell you, that's going to be a lot of reading for you guys. Not that you don't want to do it. We'll put it up there if we didn't. What we did give you, though, yesterday, we posted the statement from Star Marianas along with some of their they provided some context behind some of them. So let's check that. We're gonna start ticking away at this thing here. But here's the amazing, the interesting thing that you want to hear, and this is the important part, is because they want to just make sure that there's no maybe in what they're trying to tell you. They want you to know exactly the tone of this. Subject: notice of intent to terminate scheduled air service and unsustainable fee structure at the airports in the CNMI, Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. Now, I've got some real good info about this stuff, too, that I'm going to give you in just a sec. Because like when they talk about the unsustainable fee structure at the airports in the CNMI, wow. Now, especially when you compare them to Guam. Don't let me forget that, because I have some real numbers for you that are just crazy when you think about what it is over here. Good morning, Tobot. Good morning, JJ. Hey, Glenn, good to see you, too. I need to see you in person one of these days. You are Mr. Social Media. I know you're the broadband guy, but I'm the shake the hand guy. I got to see you, man. I need some Glenn Hunter in my life. You too, Tobot. Your comments are good. I'll give you, you're good. Or you could say. But let's get back to the stuff about Star Marianas, because the numbers, by the way, this music's a little too dramatic. Let's do something a little bit better than that. All right. So the numbers, the amount of money that Star Marianas is required to pay here in the CNMI versus Hawaii is one thing. Versus Guam is just insane too. Crazy. All right, we're going to get to all this. Let's read this first thing. It says, hey, so Star Marianas Incorporated hereby provides notice of its intent to terminate all scheduled air service to and from the airports in Saipan, Tinian, and Rota effective October 15th. That'll be the scariest thing before Halloween. And they are going to do that if a resolution to the current fee setting dispute with CPA cannot be found. This difficult decision is driven primarily by the unsustainable airport fee structure imposed by CPA. Okay, so this is not new. We've heard about this for a long time, right? And it's been something where it seems like we're kicking the can down the road over and over and over and over again. Now, I understand there's two sides to every story, right? You got some people who are saying, hey, this is a problem because Star Marianas needs to pay. They owe money. They got to pay. They're just doing this because they don't want to pay. Well, I think that's a good point. The other point is they don't think that the fee structure is proper for what they have to pay. And they go into great lengths to explain that in all these documents that they release. And part of that is, like, if I were to try to encapsulate everything in the one small little thing, it would be very difficult. But the closest thing I could say is that there are federal regulations that say, hey, if you're a small airline, like real small planes, you only have to pay like small amounts to take care of things. And Star Marianas is being told that they have to pay on par, not exactly, not on everything because of the number of passengers, but they're having to pay quite a bit for the same kind of stuff that the big airlines with the big jets and everything have to pay. Like, for instance, like when their planes land, if they're less than 6,000 pounds, which is not, it's nothing compared to what those massive ones are, right? They really don't do any damage to the runway when they land. Even, no matter what GPPC put into that runway, it's still not being negatively affected by what's being landed on by Star Marianas. So they're being charged like the same kind of stuff that United and Jeju and all these other guys are being charged. And they just don't think it's fair. They feel like they're getting charged for things that they don't necessarily have to, not necessarily. They should not be charged. This is their take on it, right? And that's where all this stuff comes up from. Now, it would be great to get some stuff from CPA to hear about them too. But I've got some regulations here. I've got some of the stuff here. Essentially, they don't think there's any transparency with the fee structure. And there's supposed to be some kind of agreement that goes through between the airlines, either the user, and the folks who are running the airport. And by the way, they're paying more for their airport fees now under this rate structure than they did when they actually had a building. They're paying more now as our commuter airline, as our life link between Saipan, Tinian, Rota, and Guam. They're paying more fees to operate out of a container as opposed to when they actually had a building. Is that ridiculous? When they actually had parking and a building, facilities, when they didn't have to use a restroom that is a porta-john. They're paying more now than they did at that time. That's ridiculous. I understand inflation. Well, maybe I don't understand it, but I understand that as a factor. Okay, I kind of understand it. But still, I understand that there are a lot of things going on, but how can they pay more? Well, the expenses have gone up, and we got less people coming in. Well, they don't use crap. They're a small little commuter airline. I jokingly told them, I'm like, hey, why don't you guys just lease the old Aslito airstrip, clear it out, and land on your own? They don't even, Star Marianas, because of the size of their planes, they're not even required to have a tower. They do not need to land at the airport. They could literally lease their own land and take off and land, and people would pay less for their airfare because they wouldn't have to pay the rates from CPA. And CPA would not have anything to do with that commuter airport. So they wouldn't be paying for any of those fees. The amount of fees that Star Marianas is being told to pay now, they could buy a new plane every other month. And that's crazy. Here's the number. Star Marianas, under this user agreement, is required to pay for all three airports, for Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, $66,000 a month in fees to CPA. Star Marianas, our little local airline that provides all the air traffic to Saipan and Tinian, and Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, and also for Guam. $66,000 a month. A month. Okay, Brad, that's fair. That's a fair amount. That's not crazy. They're a business. They got to pay things. All right, that's fair. Let's compare it to something else. They're paying Star Marianas is paying $66,000 a month to fly between Saipan, Tinian, and Rota just for their fees. For Guam, they pay $11,000 per year. Per year. So in order for, we're not talking about how much it costs for maintenance and fuel and all that. This is just fees to the airport. Because airports want people to fly there. That's why they are there, right? Guam charges Star Marianas every year to fly and use its airport $11,000 for the whole year, while the CNMI charges $66,000 per month to Star Marianas. The heck is going on? We're 4 times as much as, like, the landing fees here are 4 times as much than Hawaii. Okay, that's crazy too. But look, $11,000 a year versus $66,000 a month. Who's screwing up? Somebody's screwing up. Somebody is crazily screwing up. Thank goodness we got Joe Zuzu up there at the CPA. And I'll tell you why. Because that statement that he had the other day, like, hey, we need to stop spending more money than what we have coming in. Yeah, no kidding. Why does it take until he gets there to figure that kind of stuff out? Well, thankfully, we got the right people there making some real decisions. You can't operate like you're cruising all the time, like we're good financially when we were not. CPA can't continue to spend more than it earns. That is from the board chair. That makes sense, right? But how do you charge $66,000 a month to a company that's operating out of a freaking container? And it's not like they just started. That's the service that we have. That's all that we've given them since 2018. $66,000 a month, while in Guam it's $11,000 for a whole year. That's the most ridiculous thing. Good morning, BJ. It's the most ridiculous thing. Here's Peeling says, whenever our government is making less money, they think it's a smart solution to charge the less fortunate people than the high privileged chosen Ken and Barbie dolls. I hear you. It's just insane that they could do that. To me, sure, there's some kind of factor. So the whole problem is, how do they even get to that $66,000? And that's the big point for Star Marianas. And that's what they're complaining about. Or that's what they're asking for help about. They've gone to the feds. They've gone to the courts. Now they're going to the governor and the mayors of Tinian and Rota. Say, hey, help us. You know, help us out. So planes typically at airports don't get charged for that, for landings anyway, when they're less than 6,000 pounds. Some airports, it's double. But for this one, you know, but you know, here, I mean, they're saying that most planes don't get charged if they're less than 6,000 pounds because they don't affect the runway. You know, like their Piper Cherokees, the little guys are like free. The Navajos probably should be about like $11 per landing. You know, and thinking about like how it is out there in Washington, like they're charged in Washington, the airport charges for the space that they're using. It's in Walla Walla, like a smaller airport like us. They're charged for terminal use fees. That's like using like the counters and the office space and all that stuff. $13 per square foot per year. Here they pay that per month. In a container with a porta-john that maybe they clean once a week. Are you kidding? And by the way, this is not like, oh, what was me for like for Star Marianas only. How about the passengers? You got to use the restroom. You got to use the restroom, and you're out there sweating in that plastic box that honey pot over there where you're washing your hands. And they're going to charge them $66,000 a month. I mean, even if it was split evenly, that's $22,000 per airport per month, where Guam is $11,000 for the whole year. And why is that? Because Guam wants to attract airlines to come there. They want people to use that. So the hard thing is I can see CPA's argument. If their argument is, hey, everyone that uses the airport, like the businesses, the airlines, they've got to pay their fair share to use it. That's cool. But the thing is that the requirements for Star Marianas are so much lower than the requirements for folks like United or Jeju or Hong Kong Airlines or Asiana or anybody else, because like they don't, for their takeoff and landings, they don't require the airport rescue firefighters because they're so small. Like wherever they take off and land from, they can land on grass fields. And by requirements, I don't mean like the operational requirements of the airplane. No. I mean, the requirements from the Federal Aviation Authority, the FAA. They don't require all that stuff for folks who are commuters, like those little planes. They don't. They fall under a different category, 14 CFR 121, right? And that governs like 121 is operators with more than like 10 seats. They must fly to airports with certification with their safety and stuff like that, right? So that's more than that. And I think it's 14 CFR 135 that basically says these guys can fly to any airport or airfield or something like that. Like literally, Star Marianas could pop up their operations at Baker Runway in Tinian. And they could operate out of a cleared off Azlito airstrip and have nothing to do with the CPA. They could take their fuel, their portable fuel, and operate out of there and not have to deal with any of this crap. I think they should. Now, they don't probably want to get into the landing strip maintenance business. They just want to take off and land with facilities that were constructed by the federal government funding. And they want to follow the rules of the federal government, as opposed to exactly. I see that James. He's like, how are we spending more than we make at $66,000 per month from Star Marianas alone? Hey, but Star Marianas, that's for Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. That's the combined. The other guys are only using Saipan. So the thing is, they don't want to be in that business of doing the runways and all that other stuff. They want to be able to use our airport and pay what they think is the right amount. At least a fair amount. At least as the federal guidelines are presented, as they are. So anyway, let's get back to their letter here. Because this is not a short one. Here, see if I can't get this on here. Nope, that's not the right one, but I'm getting closer. I want to show you. That's the main. I thought I was there. Split share. Yeah, that's it, but it's kind of tough for you guys to see it. I want to show you guys exactly what I'm looking at, which I can when I get cool here in a second. I just have it set up to the other screen. All right, how about this one? Oh, I think I got it with the, I just got to change the camera angles. All right, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Well, forget it. I was going to show you the exact thing. Kablow. Share. There we go. So this is what I'm looking at. And this is it. Their concerns are about this. The non-compensatory fees, right? So the CPAs, this is what we were talking about. The CPA's current fee methodology, like how they come up with their rates, fails to adhere to fundamental principles of compensatory fees. Things that they need to have. So the broad definition of maintenance and operation expenses, the lack of detailed cost allocation, the ambiguous treatment of common use areas result in fees that do not accurately reflect the accurate usage at the airport and facilities for Star. The disproportionate financial burden. They say as the sole airline operating at Tinian and Rota, Star Marianas is disproportionately burdened by the airport's costs. The pricing structure, designed for multiple airlines with varying sizes, is inequitable in their situation. Furthermore, the lack of transparency in cost allocation raises concerns about cross-subsidization, easy for me to say, where we may be paying for services primarily benefiting larger airlines that are not currently operating at the airport. This is particularly evident in the inclusion of ARF fees at the airport, where we operate aircraft that do not require such services, effectively subsidizing ARF costs for marketing purposes or for other airports like Saipan, where the larger aircraft necessitate these services. So what they're saying there is that based on the size of their aircraft, the FAA does not require them to operate at an airport that has those kind of firefighting facilities and all that stuff. So Star is the only one paying for the fees for that stuff, and they don't need it. So they shouldn't be charged for it. That's what they're saying. They also cite the unpredictability and lack of control. The CPA's authority to make mid-year adjustments and conduct year-end true-ups without clear-cut criteria for airline input creates financial uncertainty for our operations. This lack of transparency in these processes further exacerbates our concerns about the fairness and reasonableness of the fees. The last one is the impact on essential air service. Both Tinian and Rota airports serve communities that rely on our air service for essential transportation. The current fee structure jeopardizes our ability to continue providing this vital service, potentially isolating the community and hindering economic development. That's a tough one, guys, because you already know what's happening, because that's exactly where the deal is. They know that if they go away, people in Rota and Tinian are screwed. But they're saying, hey, this is a business. You guys are strangling us by charging us fees that we don't, for things we don't need. And so they need to do so. They're basically, this is a cry for help from one of our businesses that's vital to the whole community. This is the last ditch effort. They're reaching out to the governor and the mayor saying, hey, guys, the CPA is making a mess of this. It's been happening for years, and we're not going to be able to survive. So we're going to have to pull out if you guys don't do something about it. You're charging us 6 times each month what we would pay in Guam for what we would pay for in Guam for a whole year. How is that possible? Anyway, so at least they talk about that compliment sandwich. Whenever you're giving somebody hard stuff, you always put something nice in there. But it said, we remain steadfast in our commitment to providing safe and reliable air service to the airports and the CNMI, and we are not seeking subsidies. Isn't that refreshing? They're not looking for subsidies. So basically, the CPA is saying that they would help with maybe try to help find them some subsidies for it. But Star Marianas is saying, hey, we don't want subsidies. We just want the right rates. Because if those subsidies go away, we're still going to have to pay those rates. So, again, we remain steadfast in our commitment to providing safe and reliable air service to the airports and the CNMI, and we are not seeking subsidies. However, the current fee structure, which is both opaque and unpredictable due to decisions made by the local government, creates unacceptable risks that jeopardize our ability to operate sustainably. This arbitrary and capricious fee structure is a direct result of the Commonwealth Ports Authority's actions and decisions. We urge your offices to engage with the CPA facilities and facilitate a dialogue to establish a transparent, equitable, and sustainable fee structure that ensures the continuation of vital air service. That hopefully that would hurt our YouTube. Let's see if YouTube kicks back on here in a second. Sorry, guys. We just restarted it. So hopefully we didn't totally lose you guys. But looks like we're good. All right. Toba, you agree? Oh my God. Dude, we're definitely gonna do the AP update. But I also want to see if I can't get Ed Dela Cruz in to tell us about like one of my favorite events that is going on. Hold on, let me message him, see if I can't get him real quick. Let me see, because I told him about today being the day, and he said that he was cool. Ed Dela Cruz, call now? Question mark. Yeah, I tell you, I get that saying the punctuation from South Park. Eric Cartman, smiley fish, as he was sending messages. And if he says no, all right. This is one of the busiest guys in Saipan. He's coming off a 24-hour shift, so I don't know if he's even up. He is. We were talking about our folks earlier. This is one of the guys from our Ed De La Cruz, who's also the president of Run Saipan, the running man. If it has to do with running, it is all about this guy. And especially for having one of the best organizations that we've got in Saipan for local sports and promoting local sports and fitness and all that stuff. It's great that we've got a great resource like Ed. But I want to get into talking about, because the beer mile is coming up. Yeah, the beer mile. Do I have a slide? I do have a slide for it, but I don't know if I have it up here. Hold on. I want you guys need to know about this beer mile. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll get that slide ready and reach out to Ed here in a little bit. But in the meantime, let me get you the latest update that we have from the Associated Press.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. In the aftermath of the assassination attempt against former President Trump, the director of the Secret Service has resigned. Saga Magani has details.
Kimberly Cheadle had faced growing bipartisan calls to step down amid outcry over how her agency, tasked with protecting top officials, botched its main job so badly.
I take full responsibility for any security lapse.
But at a House hearing yesterday, Cheadle infuriated lawmakers like Texas's Pete Sessions by saying little about the probes into the shooting.
Tell us what went wrong.
Cheadle insisted she would stay on the job, but this morning told staff she's resigning after nearly 2 years with a heavy heart.
She should have done this at least a week ago.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says a bipartisan congressional task force will do its own probe of the shooting, one of several underway into the first serious attempt on a president or a candidate's life in 43 years. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Another resignation, Senator Bob Menendez. A source tells AP the New Jersey Democrat will step down August 20th after being convicted of taking bribes. The resignation gives Democratic Governor Phil Murphy the opportunity to appoint someone to serve out the remainder of Menendez's term. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning in Wisconsin today.
Friends, we have 105 days until Election Day. And in that time, we've got some work to do. But we're not afraid of hard work. We like hard work, don't we?
It's the first rally since locking up the Democratic presidential nomination. President Biden plans to make an Oval Office address tomorrow evening on his decision to drop his re-election bid. That's not enough for House Speaker Mike Johnson, though. He says Biden should also leave office.
If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to run the country.
And the European Climate Agency, Copernicus, says last Sunday was the hottest day on Earth in all recorded history. This is AP News. Seth Sutel has the AP Markets Report.
Stocks held steady in a calm day on Wall Street as earnings reporting season ramped up for big companies. The S&P 500 fell 0.2% Tuesday. The Dow slipped 57 points. That's about 0.1%. The Nasdaq Composite edged down 0.1%. Nvidia was the heaviest weight on the S&P 500. UPS fell sharply after delivering weaker profit for the spring than analysts had expected. Smaller stocks continued their big run. Russell 2000 index rose 1%. Small company stocks have flipped the market's leaderboard recently. They've zoomed higher amid hopes for coming cuts to interest rates. Seth Sutel, New York.
A big batch of earnings reports out after the bell. Google parent Alphabet delivered another quarter of steady growth in both revenue and profit. Meanwhile, Tesla's profit sank 45% from a year ago. Its global electric vehicle sales tumbling despite price cuts and low-interest financing. I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
All right, well, that's all the buzz from the Associated Press, but there's a lot of buzz going around from the CHCC. That's right, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. What's the extra C? I don't know. But their Environmental Health and Disease Prevention Program, they want to encourage the community to stop the spread of mosquitoes. That's right. That's the annoying buzz that you don't want at all. They're saying, hey, you can reduce the local mosquito population by handing out little mosquito condoms. No, that's not it. That you can reduce the local mosquito population and preventing mosquito-borne diseases just by being smart around your house and stuff like that. Literally, wear light-colored, loose-fitting clothing when you're outdoor. That's one. And wear long sleeves and pants. Hey, there's another one when you're outside. Also, use some mosquito repellent by putting on things that contain at least 20 to 30% DEET. as the active ingredient on any of the exposed skin that you've got. That'll help you from getting bitten. But one of the bigger things that you could do is take preventative measures around the house. How? Clean up the debris around your house, especially things that hold water. Get rid of those old loose tires that are sitting around. They gather water, and mosquitoes often do their breeding work over there. Clean your pet water dishes all the time. Make sure that there's not any larvae that's going on in there. Same with all the other stuff that you've got outside. Any of your containers, and put screens over those containers to make sure that they are not containing mosquito larvae. That's how it works, guys. Clean out your roof gutters. Get rid of all that debris. Get rid of all those old bottles, cans, buckets. Anything that can collect water is something that can collect mosquitoes. No kidding. Plug the holes in your trees. I don't know how you do that, but that's one of the suggestions. Plugging tree holes. I would love an instructional video on that. But repairing leaky outdoor faucets so not to create standing water. That's a good one. Also, changing the water frequently in the flower vases that you've got out there and other containers that contain water. You know what they do in front of those Thai restaurants? They will have those big pots that have a whole bunch of water. In fact, I think they want the mosquitoes to go in there because they've got the little guppies in there that eat all those larvae. So, and they keep that water fresh for those plants too. So maybe you got to put some little fish in those little plants so that those mosquitoes, if they end up doing that, they are out of luck. Anyway, we would be out of luck if it weren't for the good folks over at IT&E providing us with all of the bandwidth we need to bring all of these broadcasts to you. How do they do that? They give us amazing stuff, and we give you guys amazing content. It is amazing. I know. Thank you. Thank you. The folks at IT&E, they are with us wherever we go, whatever we do. We go with Team Blue. And you should ask them what they could do for you. They give us the bandwidth right here in the studio to broadcast all this stuff out to you. They give us the bandwidth at the Saipan Baseball League so that we can bring you guys the live broadcast. You know how we did the parade? IT&E. You know how we do the live broadcast? IT&E. You know how we do everything that we do that goes live? IT&E. Those guys believe in us, and we believe in them, and they're there for us all the time, so we're a big supporter. Anyway, IT&E, they got great deals going on right now, too. Did you know if you have your own phone, like you didn't get it on a special plan or all that stuff, which you can. They do phone financing and all that. But if you have your own phone and you sign up for a plan over there, you can get unlimited data and voice and everything for $55 a month. $55! I was paying a lot more than that, but I've got my own phone, and I'm not doing the phone plan where you buy in with the subsidy and all that stuff. I am paying just $55 a month, and I get unlimited everything on the best network in the CNMI. You could do that too. Go over there and give them a call. Find out more about what they've got over there at IT&E. They've got the coolest phones, and you can get everything too. But if you're good with your phone, then you can save yourself a ton of money. They've got other add-ons too, like unlimited calls to the States. I mean, you could do that without, you could just call on WhatsApp anyway, right? But you could get that on your phone without having to do that for $10 a month. How about hotspotting? You want unlimited hotspotting? You can pay $20 a month, and you can hotspot all you want and never have a cap. It's the best thing. IT&E, give them a call, check them out, see what they got for you. All right, so we have other stuff that we're going to talk to. That whole mosquito thing is a little buzz in the ear. Man, I'm skipping over one of these big stories. I'm skipping over one. And I'll tell you why. I will refer to it, but I won't really get to it. But, you know, I mean, I want to talk about it, and I don't want to talk about it at the same time. I just don't want to give somebody a platform that they don't deserve, right? You know, going after reporters, I think, is a terrible idea. A terrible idea. I mean, unless they're outright going after you or something like that, and you're seeking some kind of help, right? But, you know, there's a guy out there in the local press who's just doing his thing, and someone's going after him and the company he's working for. And I know that guy. He's not a bad guy, the reporter. He's not a bad guy. And I don't think that things are going to go bad for him in this. I think he'll come out ahead of everybody. But I'm telling you, you know, what do they say? Never never pick a fight with a guy who buys ink by the barrel. Well, somebody's doing that, and we'll see how that works. The guy is pretty well known, so I'm not going to get too much more into that. I mean, I can talk about it if our guy wanted to chat up about that stuff. It's cool, but the guy who brought it up, man, again, it's super easy for me to go down that rabbit hole, and for that momentum to really pick up some pace, because, man, I have some serious thoughts about that. No kidding. I have some real thoughts about that. Take a break. Take a break, Brad. Let's move on. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to move on from that one and start talking about other stuff that are happening here. But we'll say, hey, Brian, your friends are with you, buddy. And that's good. You're good to go. All right. Well, that's your... We'd still go back to Star Marianas if you guys want to. I almost feel like we talked about it a bit, and we're ready to pass on that one for now. All right. Holy cow. Let me get back into the comment section here, because I missed you guys. Sorry. With all the guests and everything, I missed a bit of that. So, let's see. Oh, Sylvan, hey, thanks for weighing in from Cali. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. It says, Gangdong Hospital from Busan, South Korea has the best patient-doctor communications. They're the only medical referral service partner that comes to Saipan every year to do patient wellness checks. This is what medical referral can't lose. Unfortunately, I got denied to get surgery there because Saipan has a neurologist. Hey, day. Man, Tobot, man, we're pulling for you. I hope you end up getting this. I'm not familiar with those guys over there in Busan, but I can tell you I love Busan. It's a great place. I had so much fun when I was in Busan. I was a work trip, and I had a great, professional trip. But on a night there, it was the night before I was going to leave. Just went out to grab something to eat and a beer. And I found this place. It was called Beer Served Here, or Cold Beer Here. And they have chimek. And chimek is fried chicken with beer. And I'm like, you had me at that. And then I made a bunch of friends out of nowhere because there was only one table left when I went in. And so they sat me at it, but it had 4 chairs. Now they have a table by the window, which is more like sitting at a counter facing the window out on the street. And I just didn't sit there. There was one seat there, or maybe there were 2 seats, but they sat me at the table, so I took it. A group came in, and the hostess, basically turned them away, said, "Hey, no, sorry, we're full," And so when I asked her, I said, "Hey, were they looking for a table?" There was 4 of them, and she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "They could have this. I could just move over to the counter." Like, really? So she went out, got them. They got those folks, came in, and I moved over to the counter. And, then there were a couple of folks off to my right and a whole bunch of other people. And then they saw what happened, and they're like, well, that was pretty cool. So started conversations, started buying me beer. I'm like, what? And then they started buying me food. So I had already ordered food. So when I got food, there were other people who came in. And so I shared with them some of the food that I had too. Next thing you know, I'm friends with everybody at this restaurant/bar in Busan that's right along the river and facing out in the city. We're taking selfies with everybody. And then they're buying me soju bombs. And soju bombs is where they when you get your beer, then they pour in soju in it. I had never heard of this. I never tried it. But apparently they said that's the Busan thing to do. So we did that. Great time, right? I didn't have to pay anything at this whole place. You got to be kidding. Then after that, they're like, all right, now we're going to take you to a real Korean place, a real Busan place. We're going to go see that place over there. They make soup. We're going there. So we go across the street to the soup place, and we're eating this, it's this soup that's being cooked in front of you. And then they had other stuff. They had little, chesa, and then more of those soju bombs and Korean beer, and holy cow. Then I tried to be sneaky and pay for this stuff. No, They already paid. I couldn't believe it. This is my Busan experience, man. My Busan experience was great. Like that some randos tried to get a table that I was sitting at, and I'm like, dude, these guys should sit here. I'll move over there because there's plenty of room. And then I became a pal with everybody at the restaurant just from doing that. And then we all went over to the other place after we were done there. I was full after that restaurant. They're like, no, don't worry. We'll go there and you'll have room. Like, okay. We went over there and I did have room. That soup was so good. They're like, this is how you'll never have hangover. You have this soup. I'm like, okay, let's do it. It was awesome. Telling you, Busan, man, all about it. So soju in the beer, and that was it. I haven't done it since, but that was just a great experience. And that was, God, when was that trip? Was it February? No, February was when we went to Guam. I want to say now, I think it might have been September or October. Holy cow, I said it was earlier this year. That's how fast time flies. But it was like when I went there with MBA to talk about all the stuff that we had for my previous company. And it was a great opportunity to reach out to all those folks, but going to Seoul, or Incheon and Seoul, and then going to Busan to do all that stuff. Man, $10 all-you-can-eat barbecue. Talk about let's go there and put them out of business. I'm telling you, we could do it. We could do it. We're going to be Chimek champions with fried chicken and beer. That sounds pretty good to me right now. Wait, Brad, it's 9:10. What are you thinking about beer? Okay, so I'm drinking coffee right now. That's where I want to be. But how can you not go with fried chicken and beer? It's not this early, unless you're camping or something. But, like, this is good stuff. That's a good combination. Maybe not for lunch. Okay, maybe for lunch. You can do it. You know what? I love, there's a place on Capitol Hill, at the base of Capitol Hill in Southern Tassi, that has great lunch specials and beer. Ina's Kitchen. The beer's not part of their special, but I definitely have enjoyed it. No question about it. And I go all in on the beer too, meaning like not like having a whole lot. I'll have like one, but can't ruin your day. But I'll have like they have a bunch of stuff there, but Stella. And oh man, yeah, I'm gonna go give myself a little treat and have like a Stella with the fried pork special. Woo-hoo. Holy cow! Listen to those messages coming in. Let's see if that's our guy. It is. No, he just got off. Yeah, I know. No sweat. No sweat. Doesn't that sound like you're really typing? Anyway, that's Adela Cruz. I told you he had that crazy 24-hour shift, and then he got off at midnight, which is nuts. And I'm like, no. I'm like, hey, we're still on. Don't worry about it. You can call if you want, but we can wait till tomorrow. That's fine. Because all this talk about beer is going to talk about the beer mile that's taking place on August 2nd. And, man, it was awesome. The last beer mile was great. These are great events. If you haven't done them, you are totally missing out. The promo video that we made for last year, was it last year or the year before? It was just awesome. It was a lot of fun to make. Something to joke about, too. So that's the only time my wife gets egu, when I get some Stellas. Man, it's good stuff. You know, last night when I was at God's, I had a longboard, and I have not had one of those in a long time. It was smooth. It was so good I had a second one. Like, I was walking out the door after I had one, and I saw some friends walk in. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. You talked me into having another beer. I had one more. Chat them up a little bit. But they were the guys who were giving me a hard time about walking out of there with that pizza on Taco Tuesday. I'm like, I will not stand for this blatant racism. Not racism, race baiting. Oh, man. Well, I think we talked about a lot of this stuff that we have going on here. I know there's another update that came out that we could give you that one too before we get out of here. But I tell you, Star Marianas, you don't want to miss them. You don't want to lose them. Guaranteed you're going to miss them. Guaranteed, if Star Marianas is able to walk without anybody doing anything about it, holy cow. It's terrible. Talk about those key points again that we were mentioning. Let me pull that up again. To use the airport in Guam, Star Marianas pays $11,000 a year. To use Saipan, Tinian, and Rota airports, Star Marianas pays $66,000 per month. This is what they're saying. That's why the fee methodology, like how they come up with that rate, isn't clear, and it also makes them pay for things they don't need. And that's what the whole issue is for them. They're squawking about not having to pay or being forced to pay for things they don't need. And the way they see it, they say that's in violation of federal requirements. And that's understandable. I totally understand that, and I'm just some regular dude. And I would hope that our the folks in charge of our airports and seaports understand that too. It seems fair, doesn't it? Like that they shouldn't have to pay for stuff that they don't need. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be running an airport anytime soon. And who knows all the issues that they've got to deal with. But I know that I personally don't have all of it down. I can't imagine. $66,000 a month to operate in the CNMI, where in Guam they would have to pay $11,000 a year. How could they survive on stuff like that? How could any organization survive? And the thing is that airports are supposed to be welcoming to airlines. You want more airlines coming to your place. You don't want to charge them out of existence because you get customers there. Now, it's barely an airport. Well, at least there's no terminal for the commuter. It's 3 containers and a dream is what they should call it. Yeah, it's been 6 years since U2. I know it's being built. It's under construction right now, and it's going to be great. And so I don't think it's fair to bag on them about this part, that it's not ready today. But it should have been done a long time ago. At least that's my unfair perspective. It takes a long time, but we heard some of it about like, hey, it's not easy. It's not easy, and we didn't have the right insurance. Luckily, we got the most out of the insurance because the board members went to London to talk to the underwriters, to say, hey, help us out. So they did. But that took a while. And by the way, those are the board members that had to go out there. They don't get paid to do that stuff. They had to go on there and do it on their own. Granted, it's not like they paid for themselves. But I mean, like, it's crazy. It is crazy. You got to send your board members to go out there and do that kind of stuff. But at least it worked. I mean, you would think that maybe with all the... you're able to do video conferences. You're able to do phone calls, email, everything. So nothing beats face-to-face. So they went out there and got it. Took a while to get it. And Star Marianas is so happy, I'm sure, to pay $66,000 a month so they can operate in a container. And pay more than what they paid pre-typhoon. That's what they're paying under the current proposed airport usage agreement. Anyway, we're going to try and get some folks from CPA to come in and talk about it. We did reach out to Star Marianas. They're like, yeah, we're not going to come on and talk about it. Pretty much everything you need to know is in that document. I get it, because there's ongoing stuff for them. They don't want to go out there and talk about the stuff that's in the courts. I get it. And that's part of the stuff that they provided us, by the way, along with their whole letter and their methodology and all that other stuff. Like, they explained all that stuff. And it's all in there. All of the court stuff that they had in there, all the background stuff, everything between Star Marianas and the CPA, it's all there. And we've already converted this all to photos so you guys can see it. But we talked about it at length today about how they started with the federal courts. Federal court said, yeah, it's not a federal court thing. You should go to the FAA. Then they went to the FAA, and the FAA said, yeah, this is not a FAA thing. You should sue them. So they said, okay, so we can't do it in federal, and we can't do it through the agency. So what are we going to do? I guess we're just going to go ahead and do it in local court. And in the local court, that's where they started getting some traction. And things are moving in their direction. But in the meantime, they're saying, we can't operate like this. And we're not looking for subsidies. We just want this being charged properly. And it's not been done to their satisfaction. They don't think it's fair at all. Anyway, and can you imagine life without Star Marianas here right now? What does that do for Rhoda? What does that do for Tinian? I mean, it's a big deal for Saipan too. But I mean, really, at least we have United and pay $1 million per flight for United. But still, can you imagine, like, how are you going to get back and forth from Tinian and Rhoda outside of a boat? It's going to be an absolute disaster if Star Marianas pulls out. We need to support them. The CNMI needs to support an airline from the CNMI whose sole function is to serve the people of the CNMI.